Well, welcome to my house down here on Halls Mill Creek in Mobile, Alabama. When I went to build my house, whatever, I went and checked on the flood maps, and they showed me that this elevation 10 was the flood elevation for this area. And I thought, well, that's great. I need to definitely build above that. When I went to go take to the building department my plans and all, we required to build at least 12 inches above that 1 foot. So I talked to my insurance guy and he said, well, Mike, you know, every 12 inches above the flood elevation, you're going to reduce your insurance rate. Then I'm going to build it not at 11, but I'm going to build at 12. And he said, that's a great idea. So I talked to my neighbors and I kept asking them, I said, you know, are we doing the right thing? Do we need to build as high? And they kept telling me, actually, no, I didn't need to worry about it. That Frederick, Camille, some major hurricanes been around, a lot of flooding. They'd been down here and it never even got to this 10-foot elevation mark. So I felt very comfortable here. Well, unbeknownst to me, not too long after I'd moved in the mid-90s, Hurricane George came, and this right here, this nail point is the mark that I put in. This is how high the water came in Hurricane George. So if you come across here, it is actually the water came higher than what the city would have required me to have my finished floor of my house. Also, not too long here back, I guess 6 years or so, was Hurricane Katrina, and it actually came just a little higher than that, probably about right here. And both times, as you can see, had I built to the required flood elevation, my house would have flooded. One of the things you might keep in mind is the fact that even though the flood map showed here 10 foot and the city required me to build here, and there was savings in regards to building even higher, the biggest thing to keep in mind about the flood maps is that the water doesn't pay any attention to them.
I know I was here during Hurricane Alicia. We all stayed at Grandpa's house for that.
Right.
She was
We were here
pregnant.
for Carla, and yeah, we evacuated Galveston during one hurricane.
We always came here because it was always the safest place to be, we felt. And it was not in the 100-year floodplain at the time of Tropical Storm Allison, 2001. Knowing my grandfather was on the other side of the bayou, I picked up the phone and called him. I asked him if he was okay. He said, well, there's a box floating across the room. And so the houses behind us that were built in the 1950s were built at what that time was above the 100-year floodplain. And today they fall far below the 100-year floodplain. The floodplain was somewhere in the neighborhood of 48 feet, and that was the base flood elevation, and that's what FEMA determines you have to build above. And today the base flood elevation is somewhere in the 54-foot range in this neighborhood. Doesn't mean you can't get flood insurance, it just means that your flood insurance is going to be far more expensive. And in some cases, people chose to actually raise their house. So they would come in and jack it up 4 or 5 feet so that it was above the base flood elevation. And FEMA, if you were carrying flood insurance at the time, would participate in that. Grandpa moved in 1958. There had never, ever been water even above the curb in the neighborhood. And at that point, he didn't expect to flood, but he was an insurance agent. So he always had flood insurance, and he always made sure that all of us had flood insurance. The city and Harris County Flood Control District has done a great job of coming back in and changing the bayou and changing the water flow. And so that just means that somewhere across town, it's going to flood next time. It's really, really important. No matter where you live in a city like Houston, you need to carry flood insurance.
All of the higher standards that the City of Houston community officials have done as part of the community rating system has earned the city a Class 5 in the CRS. And what that means is that flood insurance policyholders get up to a 25% discount on their flood insurance. Citizens living outside of the floodplain can earn up to a 10% discount on their flood insurance. And the big picture? Citizens in the city of Houston are saving over $11 million on their flood insurance policies. One of the major activities that the city of Houston has done as part of the CRS is to take land that is in the floodplain, that is adjacent to a bayou, and keep it in its natural and beneficial state. What they're doing is leaving the land undeveloped and turning it into open space. You're not building on the land, so you're not subjecting any property to flood damage.
You know, when I was mayor, we made a lot of progress in using more lake water and trying to preserve more green space have development restrictions in the floodplains, and build out more drainage along the bayous. We can do even better in the future. We just need to build our city to suit its environment.
We are responsible for ourselves, our property, and our community. We must take action to prevent damage from flooding.